Hey there, everyday people. I love poetry films, you may have guessed, and I'm delighted this week that we have Tracey the Writer, who's currently writing a series of poems about the home that has been in her family for decades. So I hope you enjoy it as much as I did.
So, Tracey, what is it you do?
So I'm a writer, and which basically means that most days I'll be just trying to get some words on the page, or quite often I'll be reading, researching, going out, trying to pick up a few gems from a few things I've heard out in the street, or, just incidents that I witness. So just trying to bring that back to what I do. Oh, the noise is my grandma's clock. It's so loud. I feel like it's the sort of heartbeat of the house, and I feel very attached to it and can't bear the idea of it not being here, and actually feel like if it wasn't here there might be something weird about to happen.
And what is it that gets you up every morning and motivates you to do this?
Well, I think getting older, actually, Gary, to tell you the truth. I mean, I came to this quite late in life to be a writer, so I've always wanted to be a writer since I was very young, but had to work, had a very intensive job, and I wasn't one of those people that could work first thing in the morning and write, or write when I got home at night. And I really marvel at the people that can do that, but for me that just didn't work. So I had to, wait until this time in my life where I actually had the space to do this. And so now I'm going for it, sort of hell for leather, knowing that I don't have very long. I'm really enjoying now having that opportunity, being older, looking back on the past and going back into my childhood. And so in a way, I'm quite glad that I've waited, even though, it's taken a long time. I'm now able to look back in the fullness of time at so many different things. So currently I'm working on a poetry collection about the house that I'm in today, which is my mother's house, and it was my grandparents' house. And even my great-grandmother lived here at one time, who's behind me on the wall. I don't know if you can see that. So this is Maggie Gorman, my great-grandmother from Dublin, who came over to London and lived in Camden Town. And then she went on to have 13 children with her husband, and they lived up in Hampstead with their 13 children, several of whom died and 2 were killed in the First World War. But one of them was my grandmother, who came to this house with her husband in 1941. So I grew up in this house with so many older relatives. I was an only child, and I had great aunts, great uncles, grandparents, my mum and her brother. And this is what it was like when I was little. All the people. You've got my mum, my grandma, me, my Uncle Patrick, my great aunt Nora, great Uncle Tom. These 3 were brother and sister. And the Cinzano, which I haven't seen for a while. So it was a packed house full of people, very social, but quite lonely for an only child, especially when everyone else is busy and, don't really have that much time. So, it's retracing those steps and also telling a story a bit about my father and his background. So he was from Trinidad, and he came here in the 60s, a steel band player. And I'm very interested in his background and the blend that happened here with my mum's family that are Irish and Swiss, and and their marriage. That's my dad with his 2 sisters and my mum, and also my great uncle Russell, who's my dad's uncle, Russell Henderson, who was one of the people that founded the Notting Hill Carnival. And they were both, Russell and my dad, the early steel pan players in London in the 1950s. And and that was in this room. It was their wedding night, and and his sisters were gorgeous.
What's the best experience so far as a writer?
I think I've enjoyed seeing my work in print. That's been great. So very exciting moment when you see something with your name on it. I've enjoyed winning competitions or being placed, because actually it's a really interesting process of entering competitions, because it does make you really polish up your work. So as a result of doing that, you end up with a better piece of writing at the end of it. So that's been very satisfying as well. And I also, the other thing that I would say is the best thing for me is that I really love working with other people and helping other people. So I'm in a couple of writing groups with lovely people, and we help each other and we feedback on each other's work. So for me, that's also a really big part of it, because I love editing, actually. So editing is a really sort of favourite thing, much more than the writing. So for me, having that opportunity to collaborate with other people is also a really interesting part of the job. So it's not really lonely, because a lot of people think writing's lonely, but it doesn't have to be.
So what's the worst thing that has happened to you during writing?
I think having the realisation quite recently that the novel that I've been working on for the last 3 years is probably not going to see the light of day. So that was quite hard to accept, but it was quite a politicised novel. There were some cultural sensitivities there, and I just feel at the moment that it's not the right sort of thing to be putting out there. So I'm going to finish it because I'm so near the end, and then just pop it in a drawer and then just move on. It wasn't a waste of time. A lot of novelists have what they call their orphan novel, so which is in a drawer. It wasn't wasted.
So last question, have you had a life lesson that you've learnt as a result of embarking on your writing?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I've learnt to don't wait. I've put off writing when I should have started when I was 40 years ago, when I really wanted to, and I went on another path, but I wish I had got into it then. So I think that was my lesson. Like, don't wait, just go for it, because now I'm at a point in time where I'm looking back. There were some challenges in my childhood, and now I'm kind of having a chance to recreate it in, my own narrative and put my own storytelling on it, and that puts you in charge. And, so in a way I feel like I'm honouring myself and my creativity. So I feel it didn't happen when I hoped it would, but it's happened now, and I'm happy with that. We never use the wall lights, but tonight they blaze hard gold like my mother's hair. We must celebrate, though the champagne tastes brackish and the fizz dies on my tongue. Leave me in the clearing by the cold lake. It's mapped and mined and will be mine again. Take your brittle laughter with you. I'll slide in next to Grandma here, settle in the soft fold of her hip, while Mother holds the mantle, sick with wine or nerves. Poor love. Someone pulls out the atlas, the binding coming loose. Guyana is in South America, but English-speaking, and Caribbean, but not an island. They point to a green landmass, but all I see is ink-stained ocean, distance. I've always been an island, moulded by the tides of my mother's life, the ebb and flow, the lap and roll, eroded into being, one thing, then another. And now she stuns us all. She has fallen for my father's brother, as people do. Fleeting, it was fleeting, 3 weeks from smile to isle. And I told him, I'm not coming unless you marry me. She beams bridal glow, and I crave dusk on a winter afternoon. What does it mean to leave? This tattered house with my beloved grandma and all the old folks, the folklore. This place where nothing has ever happened, and now the wall lights are blazing. My great-uncle Tom taps his pipe and nods. He knows.
That was a big day. That was a very big day. Especially when I said I'm going to marry my first husband's brother. That was a bit of a shock for everybody. And he said to me, "You've got to ring Brian and tell him," that's the first husband, "that you're coming out to marry me." So that was an awkward telephone call.
No, it was a big deal, and it was very sudden. That was the thing, wasn't
Well,
it?
yes,
It was
I'd
like-
met my mother-in-law. I said, he's invited me to Guyana. What do you think? And we were in Trinidad at the time at her house. I said, "Well, no, Barbie, you must go. You're invited. You haven't been to Guyana. You must go." So I said, "Okay." And he set a ticket for me, and I went across and had a few days with him. And he said, "Why don't you come back?" And I said, "Oh, I can't possibly." He said, "You've got no adventure in your soul." And that really persuaded me, because there's nothing else going on back here at that time. So it seemed like a good idea.
Yeah. Well, I think someone saying you've got no adventure would
Oh,
just,
it
I mean,
absolutely spurred me on, because I felt I had. Well, I had quite a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah. Well, I think you did, but then it was very quick, wasn't it? Just a few weeks, I think, 3 weeks.
Got
was it?
married then in 2 or 3 weeks when we got back.
Yeah.
How long were you out there, Tracy?
I think I was there for about 9 months. Was it about 9 months? I
Yes.
think. Yeah, just less than a year.
What age were you?
13.
13.
Terrible age.
Thanks for watching, folks. Please hit the like button, please hit the subscribe button, and if you'd like more information about myself or Tracy, hit the more ... just under the video, and you'll get a description, all the information you might need. Thank you.